Hello, how are you doing? Hope you're doing good. I didn't quite know what to do today, but I did set and make a pattern for some earrings. It took quite a while to get there, but it was so worth it. I think it's going to be really cool. We're going to put that together today. I'm going to share that pattern with you guys. Before we get into that, I kind of wanted to show you some of my current projects and what I'm working on. So with my bead applique dream catcher I was making, I got a little bit more progress. I'm pretty proud of it. Got a little more progress done on it. I was working on it for like days straight, and then I started getting kind of calloused and sore. My fingers started getting really sore, so I had to take a break from it. I was kind of upset about that, but I have tried to use thimbles before. I have this old antique thimble, and it works, but I can't work with it. I get kind of lost because I can't feel where I'm at, so it kind of messes me up and doesn't work so well. So I've just set it down for a while. There are some silicone ones that you can get, and I'm going to see if I can hunt some of those down. And I use them when I cross stitch, and I had a pair, but they wore out and tore and fell apart on me because I used them so much. But as far as that goes, I'll show you my progress here. This is what I got so far. I think it looks pretty awesome. I got my sun put in there, and the sky is almost done. I got a little tiny bit of sky left. Got some little wind cloud swirly things. I drew with those in there. I just wanted a little different sparkle. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a different colored bead. It's more of a translucent sparkle one, and I think it's looking pretty sweet. I am really liking it. I wanted to work on it more, but I gotta rest. I gotta give my fingers a rest. That's pretty serious there. I kind of want to keep my skin. And so because I couldn't really work on that, I decided to start something new last night. It was something kind of fun. I hope I can do what I have in mind for this project. I want to kind of maybe make it like a pouch or a coin purse or something with it. My number one thing right now is I am having a hard time getting a hold of some leather. Not so much that it's hard to get a hold of, it's more that I just don't want to spend that much. I have found a few places online that you can get like the just a deer skin leather for pretty cheap, but I really want to get some brain tan hide, and I'm having a hard time getting a hold of it. They're sold out everywhere I go. It's just like they're sold out. So maybe I can get a hold of some. I was watching some videos, and they were telling people that a great place to get leather is to go to like a Goodwill and get old leather jackets and things and use that. So that might be something I do. I'm not really leaving the house right now unless I have to. It's like negative 11, negative 20 some degrees out. So I only leave when I have to, which is basically to work and back home. So maybe later when the weather gets nicer, I'll try that out. But this is what I got started here. Really big loom project here. This is 49 in width, 49 threads in width. And it's going to be a nice big project, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do what I want with it. It's going to be kind of an experimental thing. That's just a tiny fraction. That's all I was able to get done because it took a long time to warp the loom. So I got like that much of that pattern done. So I'm getting there in time. I'm going to put this away real quick. Hang on a second. So I got my earring pattern here. I have a whole book of earring patterns and designs on the way, and we might have to dig into those a little bit. They're super fun. I love to make earrings, but for now I've downloaded or printed off some patterns for brick stitch fringe earrings. So we're going to do one of those today. It took me a while to design this, but I got my dream catcher design all drawn up here. I think it looks really cool. It'll probably turn out real neat. I'm excited to try it. So we will get going on that. I will, kind of have my pattern out. I will show it to you, and you can pause it or whatever and take a screenshot or whatever, and that way you can have one. So that's what we got going. I will show you what you're going to need, and we will start making our earrings. So obviously, first of all, you're going to need a needle, because needles. And mine's kind of bent. I got other ones, but they're all bent too. I'm just using a size 11 beading needle. It's a longer one. I like to use the longer ones with these earrings because of the fringe. The fringe gets kind of long, and it's nice and handy to have a long needle with that. I'm also using I believe this is a size 0 NYMO thread. So I do believe it's a 0. You've got to have really thin thread for these, because you're going in and out of that major or that base pattern so many times. You've got to have some really thin thread that can handle that with size 11 beads, which is what you're going to need next, is size 11 beads. And we're going to need turquoise and light blue, yellow, black and white, orange, and red, which I keep my red in here with my bead soup. So those are going to be the colors we're going to need. You're also going to need some beeswax, kind of make it a lot easier to get through all those beads. Get your thread kind of treated with that. A pattern if you have one. If not, you can do solid colors or kind of go with the flow. You're going to need earring findings. So you're going to need a couple of dangle earring findings. A couple of these guys. Because you're going to make 2 of them because you got 2 ears. Or if you don't, if you only have 1 ear, you can make 1. Whatever you want to do. And some scissors. And I believe that should be it. So I'm going to bring you down here, and I hope I can film this good enough. It's tiny stuff we're working with here, really not easy to film. So I will do my best. So I'm going to bring you down, and we will get started. So first of all, we're going to need to load our needle. Let me see if I can find the beginning of my thread here. This is just that, I think it's a size 0. It's so tiny. There it is. It's so thin. And, I have the size D, and it's a lot thicker. So we're going to use the size 0. So the thinnest thread you can. Make sure it's a nylon thread, because other stuff's just going to break on you. Now, when you get your thread, I go a full wingspan. And so I go from my left hand to my right, and I just open up my arms and spread my wings wide, and that's how much thread we're going to need. I'm going to give myself just a little pinch more, and snip that off there, and we'll wax up our thread here with our beeswax. It's always just such a good idea to do this because it really does help with the friction. Keeps it from going all crazy on us. And I've just always used the beeswax. The first book I ever got for seed beading, gosh, I can't remember what it's called. I've looked for it. I can't find it. I don't know what happened to the one I had, and they recommended the beeswax in it. And that book is actually where I learned to make these earrings. So now we're gonna get our needle threaded. We can find our way through this tiny little eye. There we go. And I'm a little shaky today. I do believe that I have drank way too much caffeine, but that's okay. Now, do not put a knot in your thread. Do not put a knot in your thread. Leave it the way it is. We got it on there. It's good to go. And kind of perfectionist when it comes to my bead piles, and I kind of have a mess here. Okay, so now with the brick stitch earrings, they're called brick stitch earrings, but the base starts off like a herringbone or a ladder stitch, basically. And that's going to, what I mean by base is what you're going to build the whole entire earring off of. Now my pattern's a little different. I've cut it up because the pattern I had showed bugle beads, and I didn't want to use bugle beads. I wanted to use all seed beads. So I kind of cut it into little pieces and made my own little pattern from it. But these three all the way across, this little area here, that's going to be our base pattern. And the base pattern basically is like a ladder stitch or herringbone stitch. It's quite easy if you know how to do that. That will be easy enough for you to do. I keep messing up my stinking beads. And I will kind of guide you through it the best I can. I mean, like I said, we're dealing with some small stuff here. It's not like size 8s or anything. I'm doing size 11. I'm sorry, I don't know if I told you that. I'm doing size 11 beads. Size 8, you're going to get bigger earrings. That's just how it, you know, how it is. So you want to pick up your needle, and we're going to pick up our first 6 beads in this. Let me get a pencil here. This right here, these 3 beads here, this is our base. So we're going to want to pick up our first 3. Now, because I have a pattern, like a lot of people do just a regular, I've even done it a few times where you just do one solid color baseline. You know, it makes it a little bit easier. I guess I'm complicated, so I decided to go complicated. And since I have a pattern within my base, I'm going to start here, loading my beads, and then I'm going to go down and up and down and up, and you kind of go weave in and out, because that's how you're going to be laying those beads. So we're going to need to start with 2 turquoise and a blue. So we'll get our 2 turquoise on here, get a blue, and then we're going to need a turquoise, a blue, and a black. See, I started down here and went up, and now I'm starting up here and going down. So we're going to, the very first row, you're going to thread the first 2 rows, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So turquoise, turquoise, blue, and then we need a turquoise, blue, and a black. And that's because I wanted to make a dream catcher pattern, and it kind of complicated it. So bring your seeds, or your beads down. I always call them seeds. I'm such a silly. Okay. Bring them down, and what I like to do is I will take my beads, I'll wrap my thread kind of over my finger, like that, if it holds. My fingers are, like I said, I'm a little shaky today. So, and just kind of hold it like that. And then you take your needle, and you want to come up through those first 3 beads. And no more than that. And then just pull through, like so. And then when you pull them together, you'll see how they kind of stack on each other, like that. And since this is our first row, what you want to do is you want to come down through that second row and bring your needle through. And then you're going to come up again through the first row, like so. And this is just reinforcing that first row. And then you're want to come down again through that second row, like that. And that just kind of reinforces it, and kind of, it's like it's going to keep it together for you more while you work with it. And so those are our first 2 rows there. Tiny little itty bitty things, aren't they? Now, we're going to want to string our 3rd row. And so since we're coming out from the bottom here, this is the top because your tail's on the bottom, so you're coming out from the bottom, and so you're going to want to read your pattern over one from the bottom. So we're going to need a white and oh, I don't even know if you can see it, I'm sorry. So we started off from the bottom, or we're coming out of the bottom here, so we're going to want to read our pattern from the bottom. So we need a white, a black, and a blue. White, black, and a blue. And we're going to string them on through, just like so. Get caught on the corner of my table. Okay. And so see how it's connected there to the bottom. We want to come up above on the row next to it, if I can get my needle through. And I'm sorry, I know this is hard to do without getting my thumbs in the way. There we go. So you're going to come down from the top. This tail's in the way. Just like so. And it helps a lot when you do this ladder stitch to hold on to your work. Actually, the whole earring, it helps a lot till you get to your fringe to hold on to everything. Kind of make sure it's all falling into place. Alright, now we got our second row, and now that we've put those beads on, we need to come up through them just to reinforce them. Just like so. There we go. And I like to kind of tighten mine just a little, not much. You don't want to do too much or it'll warp it. And there's our third row. And so for our fourth row, since we see our thread, it's coming out, this is our tail here, so it's coming out of the top, so we want to start at the top. So we're going to need a black and two white. And that's kind of confusing. I, didn't think of that when I drew up the pattern. I just was trying to think of a way to get what I wanted visually on there. Okay. See, they're coming up like that. Now we want to come up underneath. So if your thread's up here, you want to come up down here. It's kind of, you want to work opposite of everything. Kind of weave in and out. Just like so. There we go. And now we need to come back down right next to the thread. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of falling apart on me. Here we have it together. We're going to come down through. There we go. And just kind of keep working your way down until you get to the end of your pattern. Alright, so we're on row 5. So we need, since we're coming out of the bottom, we need to read from the bottom 2 oranges and a black. And then we're going to come from the top, bring it down through. And pull through. Tail's trying to come in with it. You got that. So you want to come up from the bottom. See, our base is getting put together pretty quick. Now, 6, coming from the top, we need a black and 2 white. Now we need to come underneath because our thread's coming out of the top. Pull her through. And they sit snug next to one another like that. And then we need to, since it's coming out of the top here, we need to go next to it to reinforce that row we just put on. Oh, it helps to go through all the beads. I only went through the one. There we go. You see that's kind of coming done here. It's got it about halfway done, or over halfway here. So now we need to do, we're coming out of the bottom, so we need to read from the bottom here, white, black, and blue. Okay, and we're coming out of the bottom, so we need to bring our needle through the top. Like so. Watch out for our tail. And then they'll sit snug next to each other there. And so we got that on there, and now we want to reinforce it by coming up next to it. It's really hard to do without your thumbs being over it, so this isn't an easy thing to give a tutorial on, but that's alright. That's what we got so far. Oh, it's looking pretty beautiful. Okay, now we need, let's see, we're coming out of the top, so we need to read from the top. What was our last one? It was that one. So we need a turquoise, a blue, and a black. If I can get my beads to stay on my needle. There we go. Bring our beads down, like so. And we're coming out of the top, so we need to put our new beads on by coming from the bottom. Get those out of the way. Get out of there. And it's basically just like weaving in and out. It's a really easy bead stitch. And we got those on, and now we need to reinforce them by, see the threads coming out of the top here, so we need to go right next to it and bring our needle in through there. There we go. Pull it on through. And now I think we're on our last row. Yes, we are. We need to do we're coming from the bottom here. And you always know the bottom because that's where your tail's coming out of. That's your bottom. So coming out of the bottom, and so we need 2 turquoise and a blue. And since our last row is coming out of the bottom, we need to enter from the top. Pull it down all the way. They're snug next to each other, and then we need to reinforce them by going right next to it. Pull it through. And that is our ladder stitch baseline. Easy enough, easy peasy. So now that we're done with that, we need to come back through and reinforce this a little bit. I want to make this a little stronger. And now this is why you need really thin thread, because you're going to be coming back through here to reinforce it, and then you're going to be coming through every single one of these when you put the fringe on. So you're going to need a nice, slick, thin thread. I would recommend the NYMO. I think it's size 0. Okay, if I can hold on to this, I have a hard time holding on to it without holding it with my thumb. And so to kind of reinforce it, we're just going to go back through and go down, and then we're going to go up, And then we're going to go down and up. Do this all the way to the end. And down. And up. And maybe. And down. And okay, maybe it's curling on me. Whoop. And up through the last one. And make sure that tail doesn't get tangled up in with the thread you're using. I like to hold it aside. It's half the battle with beading is the thread. There we go. All right, now we have our base finished. That is our baseline to our brick stitch earrings. Easy peasy. Looks wonderful. You don't want to pull on them too tight and stuff because they'll start curling and things. You want a little bit of looseness to it. And now we'll start in on our brick stitch. So now we're going to focus on the pyramid part. Remember, this was our base. Hope you can see that. This was our baseline here. That's what we just stitched. This stack of 3. Ignore all that down there and that. That's what we just finished. So we're going to ignore all of this now. And we're going to focus on our little pyramid part of it. So what you need to do, pick up your needle again, and every time, this right here is our brick stitch now. So this pyramid part here is now the brick stitch. So we're going to work the brick stitch in. So what you need to do when you start a row on brick stitch, every single time you start a row, you're going to have to pick up 2 beads. So say you're starting this row, you got to pick up 2 beads. You're starting the next row, you got to pick up 2 beads. That's just for the first step. So we're going to pick up a turquoise and a blue. Getting on our needle there. And we're going to read from this direction. And the key to this is, I don't know if you can, I hope you can see these, but this here is our baseline. And on the top, where our thread's coming out here, where we're going to start stitching, you see these little threads here? I don't know what you would call those. I guess little bridges. They look like little bridges connecting the beads. For our first step, remember, we pick up 2 beads, and since we picked up 2 beads, we're going to skip this first bridge, and then we're going to bring our needle underneath that second bridge right there. You see that? That second bridge is where you want to put your needle. Now it's easy to make the mistake and go through and be like down here by this middle bead. You don't want that. You want to be up at the top. You want to be up at the very top, right underneath that bridge, because otherwise your earrings aren't going to look right. It's just not going to work. You have to be up underneath that bridge where you're where your needle's just kind of rubbing up against that thread there, just like that. And so you're going to bring your needle through that second bridge and just pull on through, and you'll see the beads kind of just fall into place there. They just kind of fall right into place. Now this end one, he's going to look a little bit weird, but that's okay. Some people go back through and thread that to make it look flat, but I don't mind it. It'll lay down itself and work itself out as you go along. Now we went under that second bridge, And we brought our needle through. And now we're going to take our needle and we're going to go up through that second bead. Up through the second bead like that. And pull it through. Oh, if you don't drop it. Try not to get tangled up here. And when I bring it down, you'll see it kind of lay flat. See how it kind of reinforces it and makes it lay nice and flat. And that is our first 2 beads of our pattern. Now we're going to lay our second bead, and we're only going to lay 1 the rest of the way, all the way through. All the way down the line, we're just going to lay 1 now. We're just going to lay 1 all the way up till the end. So now we need a turquoise bead. Pick up our turquoise bead, and we're going to go under that very next bridge. Right there. Go under that very next bridge. Feel your needle kind of rub against that thread. That's where you want to be. Pull it through, just like so. And then bring your needle up underneath the bead you just laid down. Oh, I'm having a hard time getting underneath it. I want to bring it up right underneath there. Right underneath the bead you just laid down. And pull through. You're going to do this all the way to the end. So now we need a blue bead. Grab a blue bead, stick it under the bridge. Stick it under that bridge and pull it through like so. And then take your needle and stick your needle up underneath and through the bead you just laid. And pull. And it'll lay nice and flat. And we need another blue. We're going to do this all the way to the end. Straighten out here a little bit. It's kind of hard to film. It's so tiny. And it's one of those patterns where you kind of want to hold it with your thumb and forefinger, and kind of gets hard to film. So up underneath the bridge. Like so. And pull through. And underneath the bead and through, underneath and through the bead you just laid. And that'll lay it nice and flat. If we don't get caught on the side. There we go. I'm going to bring my light over a little. Maybe that'll help you see a little better. My lighting is okay. You think your lighting's good, and then you see the video and you're like, oh my gosh, my lighting is horrible. And then we need a turquoise bead underneath the bridge. And through. Underneath and through the bead you laid. And through. And it lays flat. Now we need a blue underneath the bridge. Bring it through. Whoop. Went a little fast. See, that's why you don't go fast with threaded. It always wants to tangle. What the heck we got going on here? What did I do? There we go. And always gently try and untangle, because if you pull tight, it's just going to make it worse. Underneath and through that bead you just laid down. Whoops. Like so. And a turquoise. This is our last bead on this row. And you still go through that last, go underneath that last bridge. And under and through that bead. All right, now we have our first row there of our brick stitch. Now I'm gonna move my sticky notes so I know where I'm at. I'm going to flip it over. Actually, I'm sorry. I cannot read it upside down. I'm kind of struggling with that. Now we're starting again. This is our second row. So we have to pick up 2 beads. So we need to pick up a blue and a turquoise. Go into the second bridge because we have 2 beads on our needle. So 1 and 2. Go to that second bridge there and bring it through. And then we go through the second bead. Like that. There we go. And then we just keep following across. Get a blue bead, stick it on underneath that bridge. And you know, brick stitch, a lot of people can be intimidated by it at first, but you just kind of got to practice it just like you would anything. And it's all trial and error. You know, I remember when I first tried brick stitch and reading little diagrams and things, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? But it took a few, and I finally made one. I was so excited. It's really a good feeling when you just keep trying at it and keep going at it and do your best and try to figure out where maybe you've made a mistake. Let's see. Blue. And these are really beautiful earrings. Once you get them figured out, you can do so many different things with them. And I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of flipped my work over, and it's kind of a personal preference. For me, it just makes it a little easier to see. So say I finish an end, I'll flip it over. Oh, I finished this end, you know, and then I'll flip it, and then I'll flip it, and you know, it's easier for me as far as my view goes. But if you do that, make sure that you're also going with your pattern when you do that. Make sure you're going back and forth on your pattern if you flip it. If not, I would leave it one direction. Your pattern's not going to come out right. Alright, we finished that row. I'm actually going to flip. Mine, it doesn't matter because it's geometric up here. Alright, I'm going to move my note. And then I need a turquoise and a blue. Try and get this done before work. I gotta get going here soon. Into our second bridge. And up through last bead there. Well, come on now. Keep getting stuck up on things. I mean, you can kind of pull on it as you go, but you don't want to pull too tight or it's going to warp it. I'm just going to stitch till I get to the end here so you can see what to do when you get up there. That's where it gets kind of complicated. And if you have any questions or you can't quite figure it out, feel free to comment. Let me know. I'll help you as best I can. Because it can be confusing. There we go. Kind of see the pattern coming in now. how the turquoise and the light blue kind of go together nice. They blend really well. Count my rows, make sure I'm at where I need to be. Alright, I need a blue and a turquoise. Kind of work my way through here. I don't know what he's watching out there, but it's really loud. He likes action stuff, so something action, I think. Sorry if it's a little loud for you. Alright, another row there. And with my note, starting a new row, so I need a turquoise and a blue. I hope I can get close enough for you guys. I do the best I can. It's so hard to film beads, they're so tiny. Blue. I don't know how this pattern is going to look. I haven't made it yet, so this will be my first time making it. So we'll see how it turns out. I think it's going to look pretty cool once I get that fringe on there, which we're really close to the fringe part. And getting close to the end of this here too. Need a blue and a turquoise. Just keep working your way up the pattern as you go. We'll get close to the end. I'll show you what to do when you run out of bridges. Blue. So, okay, and now we need 2 turquoise. Now there are only 2 bridges on this row, but that's okay because you can skip that one and go to that other bridge. So don't worry about that one. It's the row after this that is going to be different. So get our 2 turquoise on there. Stick it into the second bridge. Even though it's the last one, we're still going to stick it in there. And then we'll come up. Oops, see, mine kind of snapped out of that bridge. It always you got to watch for that too. Make sure you're getting in the right spot. And now we are to the tip top of our little triangle. And you notice there's only 1 bridge on here. And you're thinking, well, what the heck? Now what do I do? Well, you just grab your last bead for your pattern. So I'm going to grab your last one. And you take that, and you see your tail's coming out of this guy here. And you're going to want to bring your needle through the bead next to it. Just like that. So not your tail, but your thread is coming out of here. And so you're going to want to bring your needle through the bead next to it. I can make it look, I'll show you that again, because there's no bridge here. You have to go through the bead, the neighbor bead. So you see how that's thread's coming out of here. You're going to want to take your needle and go through his little neighbor friend here. Just like so. Like that. Now, it's kind of looking a little weird, right? It's not setting too great. So you're going to see how the thread is coming out over here. You're going to want to bring your needle up through his neighbor again. Just like that. You see that, I hope. I'll bring him up through there. Just like that. And it'll make a little strip. Oh, whoops, did I get caught? I did. My tail. I'll make a little strip. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of faint. But there is a little strip going through there. And that's okay. And now you're coming up through this bead here. This one. So you're going to want to go through your very tip top bead. Like so. Alright, and that is the top part of our earring. It looks pretty beautiful, huh? I love it. Now, we need to make a little hoop that we can attach our earring finding to. So, I like to put 6 beads on mine. I mean, you could do 7 or whatever. You don't want to go too big because it's just, you just need something when you open this wire to slide it through that it'll fit in there. So, I do 6 beads, and I'm going to do all turquoise. So I'm going to count and put on 6 beads. 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to kind of bring them down a little bit. Now, your thread's coming up out of this top bead. It's coming out on this side, right? Well, you're going to want to bring your needle and come through on that side. You have your beads threaded, and so you're going to bring your needle through on the opposite side where the thread's coming out of. And just bring it on through and pull it. And that, well, it's kind of floppy right now. We're going to reinforce that a little. And you see it gives you your little hoop to put your findings on. Now you see it's a little loose and a little kind of flimsy. I go through this about twice. So I'm going to go through the beads on here just to reinforce that and make it a little stronger. You know, your earring's going to hang from that by a piece of metal, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on there and really a lot of weight, really, once you get the fringe on there. And it's going to be flopping around and moving around a lot. So you're going to want to reinforce it and just make sure that it's going to be strong enough to hold. Sorry, I'm a little twisted up here. Here we go. To hold the earring and make sure it doesn't break. Make sure that thread doesn't break. And I go through a couple times just to, I don't know if it's more about reassuring me or reinforcing the earring, but to me it's more about a reassurance, I guess. I gotta go this direction. Sorry, I gotta do it this direction. Just bring it through, run it through those beads. And you'll kind of feel it kind of stiffen up a little bit, and it'll kind of hold its shape a little better too. And it's up to you if you want to do 2 or 3 times. I think I'm going to go 3. And you'll feel it tighten up. And that's good. We want that. Now, I'm going to go through this bead on the top. See, I've gone around it quite a few times. See, my thread's coming out of that, I guess you'd call it the 6th bead of that. I want it to come through this top one. So I'm going to bring it through the final, when you're done wrapping around it however many times you want to, make sure you're coming out of that top pyramid bead there, okay? And pull it through. Try not to pull too fast and get tangled like I just about did. It's always best to not pull too tight with your thread. And you know, you can kind of finagle it around and readjust it if you want it to look like a perfect little circle, but I myself don't mind because when the fine needles are on there, the beads are going to kind of go from either side anyway. So now that we're coming out of the top of our pyramid again, we're just going to want to take our needle and we're going to want to bring it down through the side, all these side beads, every single one of these, bring it on down. And I never make it all the way with my needle. I usually have to pull through and then get the last two. But you're going to want to bring your needle all the way through that side, because we need to go down so we can work in our fringe. So bring that down through. I got to go through these two because I wasn't able to get through them. And now you should be hanging out the end again where you started, because here's your tail. That's where you started, right? And with my tail, I'm just gonna, because he's gonna get in my way. That tail is gonna get in my way. So you have your thread that you're using, and then you have your tail that you started with. We're gonna get rid of this tail. Don't cut your thread with your needle on it, because, oh, that would be terrible. You'd have to find a way to reattach. So do not cut that. Cut your tail. And I'm just gonna give him a little snip, like so. Get him out of the way. Now we're to the fun part. Now we're going to be doing our, we got our top, we got our little hook for our findings, we got our baseline, and now we're going to start our fringe. This is the good part. I love doing fringe. It's a lot of counting though. You always want to make sure, double count your pattern, make sure you got the right pattern, that you got all of it in there, and you're not missing any beads, because you'll be able to tell when you look at the earring. If you missed one or two, it's going to set that all off. So our thread's coming out of this end now, and we can just automatically start our fringe. So we're going to start counting, because remember, we have our triangle here, our brick stitches, and then we have our ladder stitches, which are those three, and now we're going to do all our fringe. So I'm going to cover these up so we don't get confused, because these are the beads that we're going to string now. And you can make fringe as long as you want. You can make it really long, you can make it shorter. It's up to you. It's up to your preference and what you prefer and what you like. So let's see here. We're going to start counting. I kind of covered that a little too much. Let me back that up a little. There we go. Need a turquoise, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We need 21 black. Whoa, beads sticking in my hand. Okay, I'm going to double check just to be sure. 16, 18, 20, and 1. And then we need 3 white beads. Now these beads are setting different because this is what's going to hold your fringe, but we still have to string those. So make sure you string every bead that you see on your pattern for your fringe. So we need 3 of those. We need 3 white. Okay, and what I like to do, I hope we got a good enough view here. I like to take my fringe and kind of bring it down close to the, kind of close to my earring, like that. Now this very bottom bead disregard him. Just kind of push him aside. Ignore him. Act like he's not there. And then I will take my needle and just skip that last bead and go in back into all those beads you strung. And sometimes you can get them all in one shot, but sometimes really, okay. Trying to get this to where you can see it. It's hard for me because it's not what I'm used to. And sometimes you can get them all in one go, and sometimes you gotta pull your needle through and get the rest. I almost got them. There we go. Okay, and I pull my needle through, and so we kind of have this. It's a little weird, a little awkward. I kind of put my fingers down on top of the beads I strung, and then I just slowly pull my needle through. Like so. You know, you're not, obviously that's not how the earring's gonna look. We're hanging down. So I take this bead that I ignored and I just kind of pinch him like that. And then I take my other end of my thread and I just pull ever so gently. There we go. And there. You want to be snug with these beads up here on your base row. But you don't want to be so tight because then it won't flow natural. It won't fringe. It won't do what fringe does, you know. Now, we got him on there, and then we just want to take our needle, and we have to, because we have to come back through. So we're going to take our needle, and we're going to come back through these 3 base beads. So if I can get through there. There we go. You want to get through those 3 base beads. And you want to come back through those, like so. Just gently pull. You don't need to be aggressive with it. And that is our first arm of fringe there. Now to get our second one, we're going to have to take our needle and we're going to have to come back down our second 3 base beads, like so. And that's why you have to have a really thin thread for this, because you're going through those base beads a lot. And you're going to want to get through that. Okay, and now we're going to add more fringe. We're going to add our next pattern of fringe here. And this is kind of time consuming, but the fringe is what makes the earring. This is what makes it the... It's 17 turquoise. 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I'm going to double check myself. I always like to double check. 17, and then we need a white for our bottom one. Okay, I'm going to bring these down like so, just like that. Ignore this little white guy here. Hey, get out of my way. We don't need you. So ignore that white bead, and then bring our needle on through, if I can get the right angle here. Like so. I don't think I'm going to get them all, so when that happens, I just pull my needle through and then grab the last few ones I can't get, like that. And then my hand down on it and pull my needle through, like so. And then I kind of make it fit right. There we go. And then we're going to come back through the second base for our second fringe. Got to come back through again. like that after you put your fringe on. Don't forget that step, or it's not going to hold on to it. And the key is to keep your fringe out of your way while you're doing this. This can be the tricky part. So I like to hold it like that and just kind of hold my fringe aside while I pull through. There we go. And that's our second row of fringe. And that is all this is. This is how easy it is. And you can kind of adjust it after you get it through even. Like I said, you don't want it too tight or it won't dangle. You know, you don't want it to be like stiff and not dangling around because fringe is supposed to be free and loose. So now bring it back down through. We're going to work on our third row. So we're going to go down our third row of our base beads. Like so. Just like that. And then we'll count out our pattern. We need a, here comes our red coming in finally. A red and white and yellow. Maybe the yellow. 2 white. And sometimes you can, you can add the pattern to the fringe, or you can make your pattern on your brick stitch area. It's all, it's just limited to what your imagination is capable of. What you want to do with your, what you kind of see. Like this one, I kind of saw it in my head. I don't know if it's going to turn out how I saw it in my head. But I was like, man, that's a cool idea. I'm going to try that. So, it's kind of just, the only limits are your imagination. 16 black. I have to double check. Alrighty. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white. Like so. And then stick it on there. And we're going to ignore that last white bead again. And I hope you guys get the gist of it. Like I said, any questions you may have, just feel free to mention them in the comments. I remember when I was younger, I made a pair of these for a singer that I like, and I went to one of her concerts, and those are really pretty ones. I was really happy with those, and I put them in an envelope and I left them for her on stage, and I'm pretty sure she got them. I know she would have loved them because she likes big long earrings. So it's, it's one of those things where you can give these as a gift to anybody, friends, family, co-workers, people you like, just whoever. And they're, they take a little while to make, but they're so worth it. They're worth the time. Definitely worth the time. All right, got up through, and see, I pulled it through that third base bead there, those 3 on the third row of the base bead. And now we're going to come down on the 4th. Like so. And that is all fringe is. It is so simple. There's really not a lot to it. I got my tangle here. Sometimes the tails have to get wound up in things. And if this is when you want to adjust your fringe. If it feels like it's too tight or not laying right, now is the time to adjust it before we finish off. Looks good to me. Okay, I'm going to do one more row, and then I'm going to pause and finish it off, and then I'll come back and show you how to finish it off and do the finishing touches. So we're going to do the 4th row here. We need a white, a red, white, up 2 blacks, a white, a red, it's a pretty one there, let's get him, and 3 whites, go, and a black, and 20 turquoise. There's 10. And 20. And then a white. Okay, we got them strung. We pull them on down. Pull them through. Ignore that bottom one. And then just string them on up here. Go through all the ones you strung. You see, I can't get all the way through that, so I'm just going to pull those through and then come through these. Like so. Now hold this down and pull them through. While I've knot my thread. Be careful, this thread, the tail is trying to come through and knot on me. Don't know what you're doing here, buddy. There we go. Alright. And then I hold on to this little bead back here, the one we ignored, and pull it down. Works a little better if you have fingernails, but I don't have very long fingernails, so that's what we got going so far. Alright, and then I'm gonna bring it up through the 3 beads on the base. Pull it through. Oops, up into my light. And then bring it on back down through another 3 right next to it for the pattern. And I'm going to continue putting my fringe on, and then I will be right back to show you how to make the finishing touches and finish making your earring off here. So I will be right back. Alright, so I got my fringe all done here. I got it this last one, and we'll go through how we finish her off. Let me get this one strung. That one out of the way. Get this one strung here, and then we'll finish off our earrings. And of course, when you do your earrings, the second one is just like this one. So you can start the video over, or if you feel confident in what you're doing, then you can just do it on your own. Now, I strung that one. I'm going to bring my bead back through these last 3 here, these 3 baseline beads. Like so. Make sure we're nice and not too taut, but taut enough. Here we go. Now, all our fringes attached. Looks beautiful, doesn't it? You can see the Dreamcatcher design coming through there. I love it. It's so pretty. Looks way cooler than I thought it was going to look. So, now that we got her done, we have to get rid of this thread. And what I like to do is I come up through my side here. So her thread's coming out over here, that 3rd one. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit. right up about 4 of them. And then I'm going to put just a subtle, tiny little knot. Oops, dropped my needle. Off of this side here. Just a subtle one. I do a little double. Like so. And then I'm going to bring my thread back up through. I'm going to go up to this guy here. Doesn't really matter where you go with it. You just want to get rid of that thread. Now I'm going to kind of weave in and out some of these beads just to kind of hide things a little bit like that. I'm going to do another knot. I'm just kind of making sure it's nice and secure. I'm just going to do a single knot on this one. If I can see what I'm doing here. This thread keeps jumping over. Just a single knot. Nothing big, not a double, just a single. And I'll just kind of go through a few of these beads and do that. I always like when I move over to go directly next to the other one so the thread doesn't look all weird or cross over the beads. You don't want that thread visible. And come back up. Just kind of weave in and out. Ups and downs and over and out. Just to kind of make it nice and secure. I'm going to go through these 2 beads here, do one more single knot, and then I'm going to snip it. If I can get, you want to get in between just one of the threads. You don't want to go through 2 because it's going to kind of kink it and look weird. Just like that. And bring it down through these 2. And then I'm just going to snip like that. And our earring is all beaded. Looks beautiful. I love it. You can totally see the Dreamcatcher design coming through. Now we need to attach our finding. So we're going to need a little pair of jewelry pliers here. And you kind of want to look it over and see if there's a certain side that you like better than another side. If one looks better, you think, than the other. I think mine looks good either way. I don't think there is any. And with these, it's super easy. You just take them and you'll see the open piece here. And you just kind of take your little pliers, needle nose pliers, and you just kind of bring that out a little. And then you just, that ball sometimes gets in the way there, hoop it onto your earrings like so. And then you want to close your back. And you want to make sure it's nice and secure. Make sure there's no major gaps or anything. Give it a little squeeze. And that is it. Because the earring is finished. There it is. And like I said, you can do your own patterns with these. You can do whatever you want, whatever you feel. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. I'm going to set this pattern here for a second and let you guys kind of look at it. If you want to take a pause and or pause it or screenshot it or whatever, then you'll have the pattern and you can do the pattern on your own. So I'm going to set this here. Hopefully you can see it well. I don't know, I can't really personally see myself. So I'm going to set that there for a second, and then you guys can use that if you want to use that pattern. I think it turned out pretty awesome. I love it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Thanks for stopping by today. Thanks for watching my video. And don't forget to like and subscribe.